Ah, wine, the socially acceptable antioxidant. For centuries, it has been poured into glasses, woven into rituals, and more recently, carefully inserted into dietary studies with phrases like moderation and polyphenol doing most of the heavy lifting. But as science sharpens its focus on aging well, not just living longer, but maintaining cognitive, cardiovascular, and functional health, the role of moderate alcohol consumption, particularly wine, continues to provoke both curiosity and controversy. At the heart of the debate is the Mediterranean diet, long hailed as the blueprint for healthy aging. With its olive oil, nuts, legumes, vegetables, and fish, the Mediterranean eating pattern also includes something that raised both eyebrows and glasses: a modest, regular intake of red wine, typically consumed with meals. The diet's observed benefits, lower cardiovascular mortality, reduced cognitive decline, and overall longevity, have led many to wonder, could wine be a secret ingredient in the aging recipe? Or is it more of a seductive distraction with good PR? To tease that apart, researchers have turned to tools like the Mediterranean Diet Score and its cousin, the Alternate Mediterranean Diet, aimed Index, both of which incorporate alcohol intake into their overall assessments of dietary quality. Interestingly, both indices assign positive points for moderate alcohol consumption, usually defined as about 1 drink per day for women and up to 2 for men, but no points, or even negative scoring for abstaining or exceeding that amount. And in large, longitudinal studies like the Nurses' Health Study and the Health Professionals Follow-up Study, higher aimed scores, which include moderate wine consumption, are consistently linked with lower rates of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and cognitive decline over decades. But here's where things get juicy. While moderate alcohol intake seems to show a U-shaped curve, where low to moderate amounts are associated with better outcomes and high intake with worse, recent scrutiny has raised questions about whether these apparent benefits are real or just artifacts of the data. For example, many non-drinkers in earlier studies were actually former heavy drinkers or people with health conditions that made alcohol unsafe. Comparing moderate drinkers to these groups can make alcohol look healthier than it truly is. Still, when we zoom in on wine, particularly red wine, there are some plausible biological explanations for its aging-friendly reputation. Red wine contains resveratrol, a polyphenol that has been shown in lab studies to activate sirtuins, enzymes that help regulate inflammation, DNA repair, and cellular aging. There's also quercetin and a host of other plant compounds that may support endothelial function, reduce oxidative stress, and improve blood lipid profiles. In small doses, alcohol itself may raise HDL, the good cholesterol, improve insulin sensitivity, and lower blood pressure slightly, benefits that, over time, could explain some of the cardiovascular perks observed in the Mediterranean lifestyle. On the cognitive front, moderate wine consumption is often associated with better memory performance, reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease, and greater preservation of hippocampal volume, the part of the brain responsible for learning and memory. In one long-term cohort study, older adults who consumed light to moderate wine but not other alcohol scored higher on cognitive tests and were less likely to develop dementia over a 20-year period, even after controlling for education, physical activity, and diet. This suggests there may be something synergistic in the wine and Mediterranean meal combo that supports brain resilience over time. But let's not pop the cork too fast. Newer data, including large-scale meta-analyses and genetic studies like those using Mendelian randomization, challenge the idea that any alcohol is protective. These studies often suggest that even light drinking may carry some risk, especially for cancer and all-cause mortality. As public health guidelines tighten, some governments have revised their stance, shifting from a little wine is fine to less is better. The World Health Organization now recommends minimizing alcohol as much as possible, regardless of its antioxidant friends. So, where does that leave the aging adult who enjoys a glass of wine with dinner and still wants to be hiking at 85? It turns out context is everything. In the Mediterranean model, wine isn't just consumed, it's integrated. It's sipped slowly, always with food, often socially, and never to get drunk. There's no wine o'clock culture, no boozy brunches. It's more like a condiment to life than a lifestyle in itself. And that lifestyle also includes physical activity, social connection, nutrient-dense meals, and very low consumption of ultra-processed foods, all of which likely buffer or magnify any effects of alcohol. In short, if you're following a Mediterranean-style diet, getting daily movement, sleeping well, and living relatively stress-free, The occasional glass of red wine may add a gentle nudge to your longevity toolkit, but it's not the centerpiece. It won't undo a poor diet, make up for sedentary habits, or replace the magic of fiber, omega-3s, and leafy greens. It might, however, make your grilled vegetables taste better and your dinner conversation last longer, two underrated metrics of aging well. So, is moderate wine consumption part of a healthy aging diet? Maybe. For some people in the right context with the right lifestyle, the right genes, and the right glass size. But if you don't drink, there's no compelling reason to start. The benefits of the Mediterranean diet don't depend on wine. They rest on plants, movement, and balance. And if you do drink, keep it moderate, keep it mindful, and maybe, just maybe, raise your glass to a lifestyle that's aging well from the inside out.